Right, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the April session for the Delaware County Jail Oversight Board. If you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic.
stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Today's meeting is being held in a hybrid format, and so in addition to the members of the Jail Oversight Board that are here in person, which is just the Vice Chair, Joanne, and myself, we have virtually, I see Brian Corson, Sheriff Jerry Sanders, Judge Whalen, Judge Brennan, and I believe that is it for now. But someone please let me know if I didn't address your presence. I'd like to start by mentioning we had an executive session for the Jail Oversight Board yesterday to discuss certain personnel matters and matters of public safety in nature that need to be kept out of the public. Anything else, Carlton, that? Okay. The next item, as always, is our first round of public comments. We accept in the first round public comments that are associated with items that are on the agenda for today. So if there's anyone who would like to address the board, please do so, and please keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. And please give your name and address at the outset. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Hearing none. The next item is an approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from March 2022?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. And it looks like we have been joined by Howard Lazarus as well now. Any questions or comments on the minutes before we vote?
Yes, I was not at the last meeting. And I
Thank you, Your
show as
Honor.
being there.
Okay, understood.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? And I believe there's an abstention. Your Honor? Judge Brennan, were you abstaining?
No, I voted aye.
Oh, you did vote aye. I'm sorry. Okay, I misunderstood your comment.
Sure. No, well, I was just clarifying that I was not there.
Okay, understood. Is there a motion to approve the reports from March?
I'll make the motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Any questions or comments on the reports? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Our next item is, and this, well, I guess it won't be quite the last. We will have a tale for April, but we will discuss the staffing penalties from March, and before us is our warden, Williams.
Chairman, if it pleases you, I do also have the staffing penalties calculated for the month of April.
Sure.
So that this could be the last time that we include this on the agenda, and then we can seemingly move forward in the future.
Yeah, I think so. Is there any objection to addressing the first week of April as well?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay, if I can, I would like to deviate by starting with Ramadan Mubarak. George W. Hill Correctional Facility is representative of a diverse population of employees and incarcerated persons. Ramadan is the holiest month of the year in Islamic culture, and this is a time for spiritual reflection and growth, prayer, and fasting. Ramadan began at sundown on April 1st, 2022, and ends the evening of May 1st, 22. It just didn't feel right starting this meeting in the manner with staffing penalties without first addressing that. In terms of staffing penalties, the penalties calculated for the month of March are $255,142.67. This excludes the position of Deputy Warden Mastrodi, which had previously been forgiven and voted upon within Oversight Board meetings. And the staffing penalties for April are $49,327.03, also excluding the position of Deputy Warden Mastrodi.
Any questions from the board? Any comments? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve both the March and April staffing penalties.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Corson. I see.
I'll second that.
All right. Motion is second. Any further questions or comments before vote?
My only comment is I'm ecstatic that we will not have to vote on this issue any longer.
I appreciate everybody's
Yeah,
flexibility in
really,
that. I
really.
too would like to not have to present that again in the
Yeah.
future.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor of the staffing penalties? Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right. This is a little bit of a different order than normal, but any subcommittee reports for today? Hearing none, I
And the
will.
only- Just a comment, I know that the subcommittees really, as we ramped up for the taking over the jail on April 6th, I think the subcommittees, at least reentry, and, were sort of stepped aside to make sure, staff could work on what it was working on and hiring. And, the transition committee was meeting continually, so, but we're through that, so, unless you want some other report on that, I think that we'll be gearing back up on the subcommittees as we go forward and reinvigorating some of those. I think that we'll see that.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I would look to the chairs of the treatment subcommittee and the, I guess what was the other subcommittee that?
The reentry.
Reentry, that's right. For their direction on what they'd like to bring forth.
Absolutely. And on the treatment subcommittee, the warden has been communicating and sharing with us the progress they've been making. So I'm hoping by next month we can have a more full detailed report that I can present to the JOB. So I appreciate the warden keeping me in the loop with what's going on.
Yeah, and Mr. Corsa, do you want to report in future meetings, or would you rather that the warden just include that as part of her report?
That's something that I definitely would touch base with the warden and see what the best process for that would be.
Okay. All right.
I just wanted to say for the reentry committee, if I could, that I have been in touch with the warden as well. And she's been very cooperative, and we are working in the future on how that process looks, what that process looks like. So we can make sure we have some consistent reentry planning for the residents there at Georgia Correctional Facilities. So I like to thank Warden Williams as well for staying consistent with the communication.
Thank you, Mr. King. Anything else on the subcommittees? Okay, moving along, we will turn it to the warden.
I'll begin with the coronavirus update. In the month of March, 237 incarcerated persons were tested for purposes of transport or displaying of symptoms utilizing PCR tests. One was diagnosed as positive throughout that entire month. Last month, we tested 152 with 49 positives.
Last month, sorry.
Last month, that
February.
is not accurate. Sorry, I just said 49 positives, and that's not accurate, so I'm gonna have to double check those numbers. My apologies.
Would that
I
have
think
been
we
for-
had 4 positives last
Would that have
month.
been for February? When you
Yes.
Okay.
We are trying to work on establishing a way to track better our vaccinated rate within the institution. Previously, the healthcare department utilized Correct Tech, which was their electronic health record system. In the transition of services, we have moved to IRMA. So we are working, Correct Tech is a static system. It's not necessarily functioning in the same way. We can use it for historical information for the patients for continuity of care, but we will need to be able to further report vaccinated percentages in the future. We did not have any clinics within the month of March in the institution. As we were navigating the transitional time period, we anticipate those to pick up with some additional partners, hopefully this month and next. In the population, we have 0 positive cases at present. In March, 0 staff members tested as positive, and we have 0 staff members out. I feel like we have to formally recognize that this is the very first Jail Oversight Board meeting where it is representative of full operational and county management within the institution. And it was a tremendous undertaking that was many, many months, years in the making, with many individuals currently on this oversight board, as well as members of the audience today and those that are attending virtually on the oversight board, including the consultant Majid Al-Sayi from Alta Management. On April 6th of 2022 at 12:01 a.m., we did transition. We hosted our very first roll call with individuals in county uniform. I had spoken about it last week during county council meeting, and I still feel a lot of those same things, though I'm able to better manage the way that I present that today. I wanted to make sure that I took the time to extend my gratitude to the men and women who have worked through adversity and extraordinary challenges to make the transition possible. To those that have elected to seek employment and join the county team and transition with us, I cannot thank them enough, whether they are security staff, non-security staff, for their commitment and dedication to the agency's core values and making sure that we become an agency moving forward that people know about for all of the right reasons. We want to be the institution that sets the standard, that supports other criminal justice agencies and stakeholders in the community. To the employees that did not elect to continue employment, I want to formally thank them for their committed years of civil service. We had a number of employees who elected to retire after many years of service, and some who chose employment opportunities elsewhere, but they should still be acknowledged for the work that they did within the institution and the years that they committed to us. As a warden, I feel incredibly fortunate to have a strong leadership team that demonstrates and embodies integrity, ethics, and values. And I want to recognize some, not all, by name. So I would like to acknowledge and thank Deputy Warden Lisa Mastrodi, Deputy Warden Dele Falley, Major Albert Pleasant, who was recently promoted to his position, Major Richard Leach, my shift commanders and lieutenants, Lieutenant Davis, Lieutenant Lebrano, Lieutenant Moody, Lieutenant Moore, and Lieutenant Platt. I'm exceedingly proud of the rank of sergeant, the department heads, many of whom are represented in the audience today, correctional officers, and support staff. We've said it before, but it's worth repeating. We're at the start of a very incredible journey in which we are committed to the visions and the values of this county and the institution to move forward. And it's with my pleasure, if everyone will allow, that I formally introduce the vision statement of George W. Hill Correctional Facility. The vision of George W. Hill Correctional Facility is to increase public safety in Delaware County by providing care, custody, and control of incarcerated persons. We promote correctional practices and exceed standards to maximize the safety of the community, employees, and those entrusted in our care. We provide education and training opportunities for employees to strengthen their expertise in correctional practices and specialized areas to enhance the institution and provision of services. We will continue to explore critical issues, best and promising practices, and matters of public policy to collaborate with the criminal justice system and Delaware County stakeholders. We will serve as a conduit for other health services and criminal justice partners to safely reduce the jail population and overall recidivism rates. We will provide a continuum of programs, education, services, and workforce opportunities to meet the needs of those entrusted to our care, to reduce criminogenic behaviors, increase law-abiding behavior, increase self-actualization and improvement behaviors, and gain or restore overall health. Through the fulfillment of this vision, George W. Hill will be a leader in the field of corrections. And I'd like to offer our values: integrity, courage, ethics, honor, respect, service, duty, professionalism, innovation, transparency, accountability, sustainability, equity, and correctional excellence. Our current population is 1,305 individuals. 1,156 are males, 149 are females, and 50 are lodgers. We had 39 weekenders from Friday to Saturday, and we are under administrative order right now. The weekender program is effectively suspended temporarily from April 5th until July 21st. This will allow us to make sure that we can stabilize staffing efforts within the institution and safely man all posts. The total commitments in March were 552, and discharges were 617. Over this past weekend, for the first time in what might have been a significant time, we were able as an agency to provide recreation on every single housing unit, every shift that we conduct recreation. And this was done by our reliable and dependent staff who reported for duty, carried out their duties, and executed them with professionalism and support. It was definitely a different kind of weekend this past weekend. We currently have 4 simultaneous academies that are currently running for training for our correctional staff. We anticipate over 35 full-time officers to begin full duty in May, which will provide some necessary relief. So I want to be clear, because transparency is important, that we are not at an ideal staffing complement, and that we are actively working towards gaining additional staff. So our current staff is working very hard. They're coming to work, they're reporting to work, they're volunteering for additional shifts, and some are being asked or required or mandated to stay. They are tired, they are working hard, and I want to get them some active relief. Our next academy, beyond those that we currently have running, is scheduled to begin May 9th of 2022. We are still actively seeking correctional officers and also interviewing for the rank of lieutenant and sergeant. Additionally, we are seeking an academic instructor, mental health coordinator, substance use counselor, and a clerk in our maintenance department. I had asked for some additional updates from WellPath, and I would like to provide updates each month regarding our healthcare services too. So right now we have 1 LPN in security training. 3 agency RNs are onboarding to assist with filling some of their vacancies. They have a mental health provider, an additional one that's starting on April 18th, 2022, to make sure that we can meet the behavioral health needs of our population. In the month of March, 958 sick calls or acute care visits were completed. There are no current backlogs of sick calls. The healthcare unit has also been transitioning chronic care appointments to their new electronic health record. And they are continuing to see those individuals with chronic care conditions. So that would be somebody who has a condition such as diabetes. There are 25 outstanding history and physical appointments. In terms of WellPath's commitment and effort to support our medication-assisted treatment or medications for opioid use disorder, all providers are applying for a DEA-X waiver, which will allow them to prescribe buprenorphine in the future. They must complete 24 hours of training in order to apply for this waiver. The MAT coordinator as well has begun and is onboarded and meeting with members of the population to establish who is clinically eligible. And later in this presentation, I know that we will be discussing that further. For WellPath, site-specific policies are under review. They are still maintaining the restoration of competency program, though they do not have any current patients enrolled in that program. And likely in the future, WellPath updates will be provided by our Deputy Warden of Programs and Support during his report. On March 29th, we had a medical emergency, a sentinel event within the institution on Housing Unit 5A. And despite life-saving measures and emergency medical response, the individual was pronounced on site. So that is important to acknowledge that we did have a loss of life. There is an active and open investigation regarding this event, and the medical examiner's office, by policy, completes an autopsy. Further information will be provided to next of kin when a cause and manner has been established. Unit 2 still remains closed within the facility. We are able to do that and make necessary updates to the HVAC system. Thankfully, we have onboarded our brand new maintenance director, new to us, but certainly not new to the field. He's a very skilled individual. He's working to familiarize himself to the facility needs and project management. He will be one of the key components in making necessary changes within the institution. Before I pass it on to my Deputy Warden of Programs and Support, are there any additional questions that I might respond to at this time?
Questions from the board? Any questions or comments?
Okay.
Well, I will similarly acknowledge the enormity of what took place last week and echo some of the thanks that I gave last week at council's meeting. It really was, for the public, an incredibly heavy lift to get to where we got. And there were a number of folks who really put every ounce of effort into making sure we hit the mark on April 6th within personnel, within the controller's office, within IT. Really too numerous to name, but just a lot of people who really worked around the clock to make sure we got there. It was a full team effort. And to the warden for coming in the midst of a lot going on. It's really, I can't believe it's only been, 2 months now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a very memorable 2 months, and I want to thank you for your leadership. I also want to thank, as the warden did, Mr. Majid El-Sayeh and his team for the last year and a half being an incredible quarterback throughout this process and really advocating for the county every step of the way, and ensuring that we made the decision on solid factual grounds, and making sure that nothing slipped through the cracks in order to execute on the transition. So Majid, thank you so very much. I think you're with us via Zoom here, and want to thank you again for everything you did for Delaware County. The county really owes you a tremendous debt of gratitude. Anything else on?
Well, I think I was advised that it's Be Kind to Lawyers Day. And in that regard, I'd also like to thank our counsel throughout this,
Absolutely.
from the Archer firm, Mr. Carlton Johnson and Ms. Shelley Smith. They've provided us solid and good counsel throughout. So I appreciate that as well.
Here you are.
All right, with that, I'd like to formally introduce Deputy Warden Daley Falley, Deputy Warden of Programs and Support.
Thank you, Warden. Good morning, Chairman Madden, members of the Oversight Council. My name is Deputy Warden Falley, and I brought here my team from the Program and Support Division. My substance use supervisor, Ms. Sarah O'Connor, and her colleague, the substance use counselor, Ms. Hillary Jones. The program and
Mr. Fowley, I know you're trying to recognize, but if you can speak through the mic
Oh,
as
my
well, just so the
apologies.
folks at home can hear these
My
wonderful
apologies.
people who work for us.
My reentry and program administrator, Kelly Shaw. My educational and workforce administrator, Ms. Kruski. And my Reverend Religious Service and Volunteer Services, Reverend Dunn.
And I just want to acknowledge that we have amongst that group some folks who have been through a lot over the years and have been with the county for a long time, and we have some folks who are relatively new. And so it's great to see that mix of people who bring fresh perspective and also folks who have really been working hard for the county for a long time. So thank you all.
So I put together a presentation and thank you. So I'm not going to go through the mission vision since Warden did a really great job to cover it. Thank you, Warden. I'm going to start with the program is support strategic map. As Warden Williams stated, we are following her vision statement. But for us, in order to succeed, her mission statement, our mission is for program and support is to provide impactful, best, and promising practices, program and services tailored to the short-term population to foster strategic partnership with stakeholders for institution programs, services, and to gradually transition our jail population with resources for successful reentry. In order to do that, we divided in 3 different pillars. One pillar has to do with program and best promising practices. We want to provide a wraparound service delivery by using best practices, specialized program, focusing on the social determinant of health, treatment, education, trauma-informed care, and workforce development, which is big with us. But we want to know if it works, so we're going to start collecting data. We're going to assess relevant data. We're going to model program for better outcome and have measure impactful outcomes as well. And as the majority of that population will be releasing, we want to focus on reentry and aftercare. We want to prepare our jail population to graduate aftercare services through individual reentry case planning, connect target population with stakeholders for continuum of care, because it's all about providing resources when they leave. In order to do that, we have to build our capacity, as Warden was stating. We are investing on quality staffing, specialized professional development, and resources. But we cannot do it alone. We have to do it inclusively. We have to work closely with our Delaware County agency. We have to foster relationship with stakeholders for access to resources and contribute and build coalitions. I'm glad that we're going to start joining the Reentry Coalition and support our reentry partners in the community. We also have to build infrastructure and innovation. We have to expand our program. We have to use that technology, and we have to use innovation in order to track data. One of the tasks that I told my team is utilize OMS and do everything online so we can maximize to the best of our ability. Our organizational chart. Currently, we have 33 full-time employees with 5 vacancies. We're actually recruiting the following 5 positions under our division. We're looking for a mental health coordinator, an academic instructor, a reentry case manager, and a substance use case manager. Ms. Krusty, our education administrator, will come up and talk about education.
Members. Warden Williams read the vision statement that includes education, and the education department will deliver strong commitment to education. So we had an outstanding month in March with 7 incarcerated persons receiving their GED. We have a total of 11 for the year thus far. It's a good number. We'll continue to strive to get the GEDs for our students so they have the opportunity for less recidivism and to go ahead and be able to check that box that says they have an education. We had 22 students for the month, and we actually instituted 34 different testing administrations. 34 times the tests were delivered. 34. That's an outstanding number. So we'll continue to try to meet these goals every month and get more GEDs for our students.
Terrific.
I'm very excited about this data. Twice a week, our residents have access to get the GED. Twice a week in a year. That's amazing. Thank you, Ms. Krusky.
Yeah.
Next, our religious and volunteer services. I want to introduce the Reverend Dunn.
Good evening to the board. Good afternoon, rather. Kind of rushing the day. The men and women that we minister to and care about in our facility are always anxious to participate in anything that we present. We try to make it as visible as possible as we go forward in this year as we restart our religious programs and our volunteer services. We restored religious services prior to the transition. We actively have volunteers waiting to come into the facility. Our first services were the last 2 Fridays for Juma, which is on Fridays at 1 o'clock. And we were successful in instituting that. Going forward, we'll begin with the other scheduled religious services we have. We provide the religious needs in an incarcerated population, and we have the volunteers that support us in that effort. We verify death and family emergency notifications to inform incarcerated persons, and we allow them to contact immediate families. I conduct this in the medical department so that we have all the services surrounding them in case someone needs to chat with a mental health person or I need additional support as I share with them. We provide grief counseling, one-on-one religious counseling as needed. All they have to do is ask, send in a request form, and I will chat with them at some point during the week, or if it's an emergency, I'll go right to the block, or they can come to my office. In the process of recruiting additional volunteers from the local community, right now we have roughly 65 volunteers that are been retrained and scheduled to come in, trained and cleared to come in. We're looking for more of them to return. We have 15 religious volunteer groups that come in and support us. Establish and maintain close relationships with the community, religious and community resources. I've been in the area for a long time. I pastored in Springfield, and I belong to a lot of religious organizations and groups, so I meet a lot of people. And I'm always reaching out, asking for volunteers to come in and support us with different programs that will enhance what we do in the chaplaincy department. Approve donations of equipment and or other materials for use in religious programming. That includes everything that we give out normally is donated to us. Anything that is required for the residents to have an enhanced religious experience on their own or in a group. If I don't have it, I reach out to the community and try to obtain it as a donation.
Thank you.
Reverend did an amazing job last year, and she's a team of one, and she needs help. I'm so amazed how she can be not just the Reverend of our institution, but also do the volunteer coordination for service provider. Last year, we had a death. He provided nine family death notification. As she stated, when his family member died, she has to go and provide great counsel with them. She had 26 pastoral visits and provide all type of religious and pastoral care throughout the housing. We had 67 individual volunteers that are signed up, and we have 15 organizations that are willing to provide service delivery to us. Technology. Next up, substance use. Let me introduce you to our supervisor of substance abuse and mental health, Ms. Tara O'Connor, and one of her staff, Ms. Hillary Jones, who provides substance use for PrEP. As you guys know, we're keeping PrEP. And for people who don't know what PrEP is, it's a prison reentry educational program. And we have two different components, PrEP 1 and PrEP 2. During the month of March, we had 40 resident incarcerated persons that enrolled in PrEP 1, and we got 15 in PrEP 2. Out of the 40, only 6 were brand new. Reverend Dunn and our volunteer will start AA and NA the first week of May. And as far as the MET program, our DHS drug alcohol administrator submitted a final programming scope and revised the budget to the BGA grant due to the transitional change of a healthcare provider.
Just to pause on that one, Mr. Belli, do you have a sense of timing for when they will complete their receipt of the necessary and actually be able to expand?
We don't have a current timing, but I believe she submitted it during the month, towards the end of the month of March. So we're waiting to hear from BGA.
And I have a question about the return of the 12-step meetings. It was some people in the 12-step community brought to my awareness that there was some stricter restrictions for people coming in for the AA-NA meeting at the DO-run facility compared to other county jails. So I was just wondering, do we have a detailed list of what the requirements are for someone to bring in a 12-step meeting and participate in that, and what the restrictions are?
So currently, they have to go through our application process. Reverend Dunn, do you want to talk more about the application process?
All of our volunteers.
And we're having comments from the board members who are hybrid that they're not, make sure you're speaking into the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
All of our volunteers, regardless of whether or not they're religious or community or AA-NA, are required to pass an NCIC clearance. AA is not as difficult. They're easier to clear to come into the facility. Normally, it's those with the NA narcotics background that have the difficulty passing the clearance. And so we will look at that going forward.
And when we talk about the clearance background, is there specific things on somebody's background that bar them, or is it any type of infractions in their background?
For the clearances, I still clear of any of that. I submit the information, and in the past, Esmond County has done it, and it continues to be. So I stay clear of why a certain person is not clear. There are times, especially with the religious volunteers, where I have a larger application form where they have to put on there whether they've had a previous interface with a correctional facility or not, and they say what it is. where I can tell whether or not they will probably pass, but I still submit all the applications for NCIC clearance, and the approval doesn't come from me.
So if an individual was previously incarcerated, would they not be approved?
We'll look at it on a case-by-case basis, depending on the person.
Okay. Because that's one of the things is when we talk about individuals coming back to be able to share that hope that you can recover, you can build back your life. It's so important to allow individuals that have been through that process. So I want to make sure that if there's any way to allow that's definitely looked at.
I'm a strong advocate of peer support, and I've done it in my past professional life. So I do understand what you're saying. But like I said, we have to review on case-by-case basis depending on the applicant and his or her past history.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Next category, reentry services and referral. Our reentry administrator program.
Thank you, Deputy Warden Falay. Good evening, members of the board. Reentry services and referrals. We've hit the ground running, and we've already had initial contacts with potential service providers, and we are eager to foster these collaborations. For the month of March, 19 incarcerated persons received individualized service to assist in release from the institution. Thank you to our reentry case manager, Jessica DeViscio, for holding down the reentry team as we begin our expansion. 9 doses of Narcan were distributed for the month, 75 referrals to inpatient treatment, 10 incarcerated persons await 402 orders, and 8 incarcerated persons await transfer to Norristown State Hospital. The recidivism rate for the month of March is down 5% to 59%. Nice to be in the fives again.
Michelle, just to pause there, I think there are a lot of good numbers there, but one that kind of grabs my attention that I'm surprised isn't higher is the dosages of naloxone that were distributed.
We agree, and that
you could-
is certainly on our radar to expand that. We've already been pre-planning on how to get that in the hands of our released residents.
Can you speak a little bit to, are there barriers to those who are being released wanting to take naloxone?
No, I think as a team, we need to work together, security and the programs, to make sure we're being more eager with offering it. Just have it keep offering and make it as it's hard to say no.
Yeah, and perhaps even, removing any lingering stigma there might be that it's even necessarily for them. I drive around always with the box of naloxone in my glove compartment, not because I've personally had any issues with opioid use disorder, but because I want to make sure that if I come across someone who's overdosing, that I have it with me.
That's an excellent suggestion, and we'll certainly work with our substance use supervisor, and she can encourage that while she's teaching.
No, and to the chairman's point, because I know about 4 months ago, we had addressed this to the JOB, and I'm not sure what was put into place the following month. The doses that were handed out increased dramatically. So there's definitely to re-examine that. Whatever was going on was working there. So it's important to get back to it.
I'm actually glad that you brought the nine dosage of naloxone. When I first reviewed the report that came to me before I put things together, I was surprised that I was shocked. So I'm working closely with the security team and the leadership to come up with a strategy so we can increase that number. Education might be one of it. Stigma might be another one, but with the security team is coming up with a process, I was discharged from, and I'm looking forward to the number increasing for the following month.
Thank you.
And for our ViaPath update, visits, video visits, 520 were scheduled for the month. We reinstated in-person visits last month, and 258 visits were scheduled. A reminder to the public, you must register online, and you must wear a mask while coming to the facility.
Video visits run between 9 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. In-person visits run between 12:30 p.m., 7:30 p.m., and the visits are Monday through Friday. As for our project management activities, this would include the mail management system and the increase of tablets to a 1-to-1 ratio, installation of hardware to support the systems and coordinating field services. This includes our 2 Adivo educational servers, which are fully functional at the facility. We're at step 2 now, which is work in conjunction with staff and ViaPath project management for facility training and testing systems. And our last step will be tablet distribution, coordination, and a go live date. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, team. So as I was saying, we use a lot of data within the last 3 weeks, and data tells a story. And when you guys saw this data, this team did an amazing job trying to provide this quality service delivery. This says more about brainstorming ideas, we becoming one Delaware County government. And one thing that we really want to focus on is on program expansion and fostering relationship with stakeholders for reentry workforce development services. As you guys know, that the majority of people that are living at correction facility, they need a job or they lost a job. So we need to make sure that they're ready to go back to the workforce. Another project that we worked on, and thank you to my classification team, we classify all the residents that was on Unit 2, as Warden was stating, and we classify them in different housing units. The next task, we want to create a sentence housing unit, a substance use housing unit, and as well as a reentry housing unit, so we can focus on specialized programs for each different unit.
Can you just pause on that for one moment? The reentry housing unit, can you elaborate on what that would even be? Because presumably everyone is ultimately going to reenter. Why would there be folks who are on this specific housing unit?
Okay, so when somebody gets arrested and they go to jail, right, they're waiting trial. When they meet the judge, they have 2 options. They get sentenced and they stay with us, or they go upstate, right? The ones that are sentenced with us, right, they're here for a year, 2 year, 2.5 year max. As they transition back into community, we want to create a reentry housing unit, knowing that they're going to be living within 90 days of their release, and provide intensive work wraparound service delivery to them so that they can be law-abiding citizens. We're currently working on several projects with several community-based organizations on workforce reentry programs, and that is why I really want to focus on the reentry housing unit for it.
Makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
I have a question. Okay,
Okay,
if I could.
please.
Let me turn. I see on the board of Brainstorming. I don't know if it's our turn moving jail over there, where I think it's the right place. But when talking about their housing unit, I know from the state perspective it works. It's very hard with the county because you may have a guy, they may have came home. I mean, that might be in there for something different. It might not meet the criteria for being in a transitional housing. But that's kind of what it is. After you get short, you're getting prepared for the world. And I'm thinking, if you already did it, you might want to look at that comparison from state to county, because it's a little different. I respect it. I think it's a great idea, but we want to make sure we look into that also, because it gets tricky in Delaware County. And also, if we didn't already partner with people, and I know we are, and we will be, let's make sure those programs get vetted, right? Because I'm told from a state level that there's a lot of programs existing in our areas that aren't doing the work that we're supposed to do. That's just my suggestion and comment. Thank you.
Mr. King, I wanted to thank you for offering that perspective and also highlighting that typically these programs do exist within state correctional institutions. I think that we're trying to focus on a reintegration or reentry for all. We want to make sure that we can provide services within the institution that will be valuable and impactful. To address our vision statement, I am fortunate to come from an organization in Allegheny County, and I don't know if she'll hear this, but Amy Kroll was one of the most incredible reentry administrators that I've ever worked with. So I have been able to have exposure to seeing these kinds of programs work within county systems, and it is important to focus on the large population and filling the gaps and meeting the needs. But those that are sentenced, or we do have a better idea, and we might be able to predict, if we can add scaffolding and support, I find this to be an opportunity. So it's not an if or this or that, it's an and. So in addition to these commitments, I think that we want to brainstorm, obviously with your support and expertise, how we might be able to move this forward. And I'm extraordinarily confident that we have the bench strength within this team and department to be able to start this.
Thank you so much.
Anything further from the board?
Say
Mr.
again?
Fowley, sorry, anything further?
I'm sorry. And then, and two other projects that we're working on, because we're going to rely heavily on our volunteers, we want to recognize our volunteers through Volunteer Appreciation Night. And we are having tennis scheduled in fall of 2022. We were just addressing the reentry component. It will be good, and we want to work on the reentry resource guide for Delaware County for our targeted population, in which we welcome any stakeholders that would like to provide services to us, aftercare services, to email us, either myself or my administrator of reentry and program, and provide your information and your contact info so we can see what type of service can you do. And we're also open to any of your suggestions for program and support.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, anything else from the board?
Just on my end, we want to put myself out there for any support that you need in moving forward with this. And I would love to be able to sit down and be a part of it to support it and go forward with that. So to please know that you have that from the jail.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fowley. And I see the contact information's been shared for your deputies.
Thank you, guys.
Warden Williams, anything further?
Just to predict for the future, next month, our meeting, I do believe, will happen after Correctional Employees Week. So the first week in May is a national recognition of correctional employees. So I wanted to make sure that I made that known. The following week will be Nurses Week. So we will have 2 weeks in the beginning of May in which we will get to additionally acknowledge our employees. And I wanted to make sure that you had awareness as the board because there are many, many employees that deserve recognition, and we will be doing our best to do that next month. Other than that, unless the board has additional comments or questions, I have nothing further for this month.
Anything from the board? I will only say, and this is something that we really emphasized last week, that April 6th was a starting line, not a finish line. And no doubt there is a lot of heavy lifting to come. And inherently, managing something as challenging as a jail is, fraught with challenges, and there will no doubt be some bad days as there are good days. But with all that said, I have to say I'm very impressed with so many of the changes that we're already seeing within just this week's time, both in terms of the transparency of what has been presented today and the array of services that are being provided, and the change of mindset of being as proactive as I'm seeing us being with regard to preparing people for life on the outside. It's a welcome change.
Thank you.
I just want to add too that when we started this, when Kevin and I came to the county, and the county was constrained by a structure that it had, that was the way it was, and there was a board. And I would often ask, well, could you just get the warden to come up to a council meeting? And we were unable to do that. It just didn't happen. And to see the faces sitting here today that are explaining what they do and being free to do so, and it's really remarkable. And I know the people watching can't see the people in the audience, but the audience is mainly the people working at our jail, and it's just really terrific. And I know people worked hard before. That's not to say people didn't work hard. They did, and there was a constraint on the structure, but I think this new structure has really allowed us to bring this to a fruition, and I recognize it as a start, believe me. People in my office, we know that, and there's still lots of work to do, but really it's quite a success moment that we can enjoy, and really take pride in. So thank you for all your work, all of you.
They don't need us to speak for them. They are unbelievably competent individuals, and I'm so glad this board is open to them being able to be present and interactive and ask questions and gain more clarity. Because admittedly, a lot of the individuals sitting here, as you noted, have been working very hard, often without recognition and appreciation for a significant time. And you can imagine what that must feel like, to feel like you're trudging through constantly. For why? For what? So I really appreciate the fact that the Jail Oversight Board that I've met and have been able to experience since my employment really does encourage this and values recognition of the professionals who do the work day to day. So thank you for that acknowledgement as well.
Right, the next item for tonight is our last round of public comments. So if there's anyone from the public who wishes to address the board, please do so. Hearing none.
And Mr. Chairman Madden, it's Majid outside. Can I say just a few words?
Yes, please, of course.
Yes, and thank you for your kind words. I would like to let the Jail Oversight Board know that it's been an honor to work for you over the past 15 months. And I couldn't be more pleased to see the warden take over management of this prison. And I look forward to the county making a real impact in the lives of thousands of people. And it really is gratifying for us to be a part of this effort. And so congratulations to the Jail Oversight Board and thank you for all of your support over the past year.
Thank you, Majid.
Yeah, thank you.
Hearing nothing further, any board member comments before we adjourn? Any further comments? If nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys.